Alright, as many of you have requested, this is a video on the test review. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Question 1, we have a polynomial function. Note that we have a negative number in the front. That means our parabola is going to open down, right? And we want to know when our yearly income from a real estate investment, at what year does the income begin to decline? So that's what we want to know. And so note that here's our point. Income's going up, and then after that it begins to decline. So this is the point we're looking for. So the easy way to do this, we can factor out the t and solve and find the midpoint. However, the easiest way, in that it works no matter what the equation, because what if there's a constant here, is to simply use our vertex formula for this, and that's h equals negative b divided by 2a. And so we just plug everything in, and we have a negative 1.8 divided by 2 times a, which is negative 0.1. You run through the numbers on this, and you will get 9, as in 9 years. The answer is A. Alright, and so for the next one, we simply just go through everything and look at the zeros. Here we've got a 0 of negative 8, and that is a multiplicity of 2. And then right here we've got a 0 of positive 8, and that's got a multiplicity of 3. And so we just select the right one that corresponds with this, and that answer choice would be C. So now on to number 3. This one is just like the last one, but we got a little extra step here. We got to break this guy down into 2 different sets, and then we also have this other guy hanging out here. The blue one's going to be a little simpler, so let's look at that one first. Note for here, the 0 is simply going to be this guy, but with opposite signs. So instead of negative 4, it's going to be a positive 4, and instead of a positive square root of 7, it's going to be negative square root of 7, and that is a multiplicity of 2. And then for the yellow one, note we can factor this guy out as follows. This is going to be x plus 4 times x minus 3. Did not mean to erase that. And so note that's going to give us a 0 at negative 4 and at positive 3. And don't forget, this whole thing was to the 7th power, so that means they both have multiplicities of 7. So we select the right one that corresponds with these facts, and that choice would be B. So now on to the next one. So here's what we can see from this equation. 1, this has got a order 3 polynomial, and that we also have a 0 here and a 0 here. This first 0 goes straight through, so that's going to be x plus 3 to the first power, and we got to get up to the second power, and we're in luck because if you look right here, it bounces back. It's got to be a parabolic, so we have x minus 2 for right there. Okay, and so ordinarily there would be an a in front of here. All these seem to have a choice of a as either positive or negative 1. We should probably go ahead and pick a good candidate for this one. So what this is going to be, y equals this. And so we're going to plug in an x of 0 to see if we're to make sure that we're above. And so when we do that, This seems to be coming through at 12, so this is going to be 12 equals a times 0 plus 3 and 0 minus 2. Run these through together, and we're going to get a value of a to be, sorry, I forgot to put the square right there. All right, make sure we include that one. And so this becomes 12 equals a times 12, and so obviously a must equal 1, leading that the only possible choice must be C. All right, for number 5, we're looking for end behavior. For end behavior, all we have to do is look at the lead term. We note that the coefficient in front of it is positive, so that's not going to affect anything. And the actual term itself is an odd number. And so since it's odd, that means it's going to be acting like a cubic function. It's going to come down and then up. And so the correct answer, of course, must be D. Okay, so let's go on to the next one, and let's see what we have. First, we notice that there is a 0 at 0. We know that this will travel through the origin, right there, and it's going to go through in a linear fashion since it's of order 1. And then the next 0 we have is right here at -1, and it looks like it's going to go through parabolically, and so that's going to be put right there, and that's going to be of order 2 and of order 1. Next order of business is to determine the lead term, and so the lead term is simply going to be 2 times x squared, which means we have 2x to the 3rd power. It's going to behave like this. And so just a quick sketch will reveal that our guy is going to come through like this, come down, and shoot straight through. So now all we have to do is pick the choice that resembles that sketch the closest. And it looks like that is going to be C right here. Because as you can see, parabolically shoots straight through and has the same end behavior. All right, let's see what the next one is. So we're going to begin constructing our equation as closely as we can and see how close we can get to one of these and then keep going. So we've got some x-intercepts here and here. And so we're going to put those up top because that's where intercepts belong. So x plus 5 and then x plus 3 up at the top. Now the next bit of information says that we have a vertical asymptote at x equals 5. That's positive 5. So we're going to write right here, this is x minus 5, and that goes along with this piece of information. And now we got a horizontal asymptote of y equals 1. Now that means that the order of the top polynomial must equal the order of the bottom. Note that this is going to have an order 2 up top here, so this in the bottom must also have an order 2, and we can get that by writing a simple 2 right there. And note that if we multiply this across the top, we'll get an x squared term. And in the bottom, we get an x squared term. And so that's going to be approaching 1, which would imply that we have a y asymptote at 1 as well, which is what we want. So now we just select the choice that looks like this one, and that choice is going to be D. Now we're finding the domain and range of this function here. Note that we have a discontinuity right there. So our domain is all real numbers except for -2. And we note that all of our answer choices have that contained in it except for D, so we can mark that one out. Strike it from the record. Next, we note that the range, goes from 0, not including the 0, and it goes up towards infinity. So 0 to infinity, and so our only thing that has that answer choice is C. For number 9, we're deciding whether the given functions are inverses of each other. And for them to be inverses of each other, the input has to equal the output of the other function. So for instance, you input 2, you get out 6 for the original function, and note how that is just reversed for the other guy. And then let's look here. You input 6, you get -4. And then on G, you input -4, you get 6. And then over here, you input -4, you get -8. And then for G, you input -8, and you do not get -4, you get 2. Therefore, these guys are not inverses. So you got to make sure you check every single one. All right, so for number 10, we're going to use the definition of inverses to determine whether or not F and G are inverses. And so we just stick one inside of the other like we were, and so we're going to be taking F and sticking it inside of G and see if we get X to come out. So we're going to go F of G of X. I'm sorry, we're doing it the other way. We're doing G of F of X. You certainly could do it that way if you wanted, of course. All right, and then where the F of X is what we've highlighted in yellow. And so this is G of 9x minus 2. Which is (9x minus 2 plus 9 divided by 2). And you can work this however you want, but you are not going to get x all by itself out. Therefore, they are not inverses of each other. Answer choice is A. All right, number 11. Decide whether the pair of functions graphed are inverse functions. Well, all you have to do is look at the line y equals x graphed right here. Notice that these two lines are in fact symmetrical about that line. Therefore, yes, indeed, they are inverse functions of each other. Number 12. Simply find f of 3. This one's pretty straightforward. F of 3 is 1 over 6 raised to the third power. Well, that's going to be 1 over 6 cubed. And 6 cubed is 216. Your answer is B. All right, onwards and upwards. Let's take a look at this guy right here, number 13. In order to work this one, you've got to get the bases to be the same. We note that 16 is 4 squared. So 16 is the same thing as 4 to the -2 exponent. And since we've got these guys with the same base, we can set the exponents equal to each other. And so, sorry, transcribal error. The x should have gone by right there. Let's go ahead and fix that. And so that would mean that we have 3x here, and that becomes negative 2 minus 7 is negative 9. Divide both sides by 3, and we get negative 3. So the answer is B. All right, 14 is a present value problem. So we're simply going to use the formula, the amount owed right now equals the principal times 1 plus the annual rate divided by the number of compounds per year raised to the NT. Make sure you have this formula down. I would write it down for your exam coming up tomorrow. Alright, so simply plug in all the numbers. This is 3,742. 1 plus our rate, which is 0.05, divided by the number of compounds. What was that again? Quarterly. So that's a 4. Raised to the 4t, and t is 12 years. So you plug that into your calculator and you should get the following result: 6,793.06. Your answer is D. All right, number 15. You're simply looking at what exponent do I have to put on 9 to get 1 over 81? Well, 81 is 9 squared. Log is 1 over 9 squared, which is the same as log base 9 of 9 to the negative 2. So what exponent do I have to put on this 9 right here to get 9 to the negative 2? Well, of course, the answer is negative 2. Select B. All right. Next one. We have log 13 of negative 1. What exponent do I have to put on 13 here to get a negative 1? Well, there is no real result, and so the answer is C, undefined. Okay. Oh, looks like that's it. Oh yeah, that is it. All right, so that's everything for the test review. Good luck for tomorrow. Again, you can start the test at any time during that window. Make sure you do not wait till it's too late. Once you begin, you have to finish in the same sitting. Do not X out of your browser. If you do, you will not be able to open the test back up. So be very wary of that once you begin. Good luck, guys. Let me know if you have any questions.